I want to welcome you to today's edition and session of the Boss Energy class that revolves in the Institute for Higher Consciousness. We're always talking about boss energy and how to operate, walk, and abide and reside in boss energy all the time. So today we are starting on the second level. We are now on the intermediary level, not the foundations. We've concluded that for those of you that have taken the 10 plus sessions. And now we're going to go back through the steps. But again, we're going to go at the next level. So this again will be the intermediary level. When you see the same titles, don't be confused. But what you'll notice, and I'll go ahead and show and share so you can see what I'm speaking to. You will notice that as it says the boss energy path, even though we're doing anchoring the core, you will see that to the second power because we're in that second level. Anchor the core. And today I'm going to talk about mysticism. And as we talk about anchoring the core and mysticism, this may be some new area of territory for you to embark upon. But I want to encourage you, if you've actually been following the journey of the course, I believe that by now you probably have, as you've connected to the elements, as you understand and flow in the states of matter, as you're able to understand your frequency, I believe that you are now ready to come into this area of mysticism. Now, as we talked about dust to dust, you'll remember this from the foundational level. And these are going to basically be the same because that's not going to change. Understand that you are stardust wrapped in human flesh. So when we encourage you to get back to this place of dust to dust, we talk about dust to dust in boss energy, not like you would hear traditionally. When you hear that term, that phrase together, dust to dust, it's usually at a funeral because someone has died and they're giving those final rites as they are committing the body back to dust. I want us to understand part of what I'm encouraging to do here in boss energy, connect back dust to dust. You are stardust wrapped in human flesh. That dust, and as we talked about before, you remember the video and the visuals, hopefully. The young woman that had her father's cremains put under a high-powered microscope, and what she saw was the same thing that you see in galaxies, in the nebulas. It's identical. So I want you to understand the power and the reality that you are human flesh, but you are stardust wrapped in that human flesh. So I want you to anchor back to that. I want you to get back to who you are. Anchoring the core deals with grounding yourself. The grounding includes the basics of being grounded to nature. And this will allow you to achieve being a confident energizer. In this course, and we're in the intermediary, we're going to take it to the next level, but you're going to still learn about various grounding methods and selection. You will also know your own personal grounding skills. And I'm going to encourage you once more and again, journal. Even though we don't have assignments where you have to turn in paperwork, I do want you to continue to journal because journaling is your path to writing your own vision and making it plain. I like that little saying that's over there to the side that says, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And that's what we are attempting to do here in this course, is to awaken you to who you are. Now, I'm going to always deal with spiritual disruptive change. And I want you to continuously ask yourself as new ideas, and today may really deal with some new ideas for you. I want you to constantly ask yourself, who formulated this idea of spirituality, and or I'm gonna deal with that from the level of mysticism. Did you follow the traditions of your family? Is that where your thoughts and ideas are coming from? Did you follow your own path and choose a journey of spirituality that fits your own beliefs? A lot of times there's statistics that say people within their lifetimes typically will not move away from the concepts of religion and spirituality that they were birthed into. That does not happen. It's very uncommon. It does happen, obviously, yes, but it's very uncommon that people will move away from the faith tradition and or beliefs that they had as a child. Whatever they're birthed into, they tend to stay within the construct of that. So that being said, again, you know that this is not a course that is about trying to get you acclimated to one religion or another, one faith tradition or another, because whether it's agnosticism, atheism, whether it's whatever faith tradition that might be out there, no faith tradition at all, we are speaking to the inner person and the spirit of who you are. I'm not here to tell you what to believe when it comes to how you want to flow and operate. So whatever faith tradition you're coming from, this is still going to be a question I want you to think about when we start dealing in areas to expand your ideas and expand your understanding. When you feel that resistance, I want you to go back and think about, is this something that's come from formulated ideas from my traditions of my family or whatever? And then I want you to open yourself up so that you can choose your own path and your own journey of spirituality that fits within your beliefs. But I want you to be persuaded in your own mind. I'm not trying to tell you how to believe. Now, when we start dealing with mysticism, because that's what we're dealing with in this second phase of anchoring the core, I want you to think about, what are your thoughts surrounding mysticism? Is it something that you believe exists or not? And before you answer those questions, I want you to think about those as we're going through today's session. And I want you to think about it and be open-minded. How many of you believe that only certain people operate in mysticism? And again, that's a question, rhetorical question I'm going to ask you at the beginning, but I do want you to think about it as you walk through this journey, and I'm not going to answer that right now. This is for you to answer for yourselves. So stay with me. Children of God, and this is something, again, you saw this in the foundations. You're going to see it every time, because I'm always, whatever level where we're at, I'm going to always refer and reflect back to what we did in the foundational teaching. We are all children of God. Everybody on the face of this earth is a child of God. We are all children of God that coexist in a sacred world. That my dear friend Baswati shared, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And I want you all to embrace that concept, if you would. We are all children of God that coexist in a sacred world. That being said, there is nobody to be discarded. There is nobody to be disrespected, because again, we're all children of God, and this is a sacred world. And that's what we're moving back to. We've made it anything but a sacred world. But when we talk about boss energy and the healing that will come, I believe it will come when we go back to reviewing and existing in a world that's sacred and respects everybody as sacred. Now, you know, I'm going to always come from these three angles, and I just put this out here so that there's no question about it. And this, again, is a reflection of my studies for my doctoral program. I'm always going to deal with Black liberation theology, and this is for everybody, not just Black people. But I do want you to understand, I'm always coming especially from the emphasis towards Black liberation theology, because there's such bondage that exists there. I'm also going to deal with tribal spirituality in the way that I approach things, because I do feel that tribal spirituality is one of the most powerful modes of spirituality that exist in the world. And I also always tend to deal with the womanist theory, and that's going to be places and angles that I'm going to come from. Not that alone, but I do want you to know those are my key points that I'm going to always probably touch on because of my doctoral background. Now, I want you to manifest, see power in the mirror. When you look at yourself, I want you to actualize your fullest potential by seeing power in the mirror and understanding just how powerful you are. This is part of the boss energy journey, because we have had power taken away from us, or power stripped, power minimized. I want you to get back to your optimum. I want you to actualize your fullest potential of power, so that when you look in the mirror, you see power. You literally understand, I am stardust just wrapped in human flesh. I want you to align yourself with others as well to create synergy. And that's some of what we do in our group together when we have the Lion's Den. We're actually aligning ourselves with synergy of others. The more people that are living in your optimum reality of boss energy, the more the world is going to experience healing, because we'll understand more and more everybody getting back to we're all children of God coexisting in a spiritual and sacred world. Now, I want to talk a little bit about mysticism here. And I want you to kind of identify when we talk about mysticism, I want to say and share, I want you to understand the mysticism that you operate in, and what is mysticism. And I'm going to kind of, again, deal with that from a standpoint of understanding mysticism and spirituality. This is an idea that for some of you might be strange. It might be different. It might be new. And again, I just want you to embrace the ideas and follow me on this journey as I'm sharing this concept and idea. I'm going to say this once more and again. I think if you've actually gotten to a point where you're dealing with the elements, you're dealing with the states of matter, you're dealing with the different types of energy and all of that exist, I think you are ready to deal with this concept of mysticism and spirituality. You'll see I've taken this definition from oprahdaily.com, not because I'm leaning towards that. It just had a good definition that's broken down, because when you go out and you start researching mysticism, they use a whole lot of big words and a whole lot of out there type concepts that's kind of hard to grasp and put your mind around. I thought this was a very good definition that anybody can understand. To qualify as a mystic, as one who has mystical experiences or a series of mystical experiences, it really means allowing yourself to let go of your identity and just being. A mystic is someone who has an experience of union with the One, and the One may be God, it may be Mother Earth, it may be the cosmos, depending on what your background in spirituality leans toward. And again, I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. I respect all faith traditions that are here, recognizing that every faith tradition that's here may not be Christian. And so I want to respect and honor you as well. So when we look at the mystic, we're actually talking about that experience of having a union with the One, that experience of coming and uniting with God, the Creator, or God, the Mother Earth, or the cosmos, whichever way you believe in your belief system, and or all three. At the end of the day, and I would say at the end of the day, it's all one and the same, but depending on your faith tradition, again, I respect whichever your perspective comes from. Now, I think this is not going to be unusual, but a lot of people don't deal with it and identify it as mysticism. And I want to break it down and get a little more into it. I know I come from a Pentecostal background, and having come from a Pentecostal background, we believe in a lot of mystical experiences. The teaching of with blessed oil and laying hands on the sick and they shall recover, anointing oil, as some people may call it, and having that connection with God where we can pray and we can speak words of affirmation and confirmation in people's lives and watch the power of God manifested. That is my background. That is a place of mysticism because it's stepping outside of my personal humanness, if you will, and moving into a place where there's that supernatural of connecting and having union with the One. And my ability and power with the One allows for supernatural and what we would probably say superhuman things to take place. That is all mysticism. When you get into the idea even of what some people term as glossolalia, or the simple term for that, speaking in tongues, that idea that union with God. And I can remember we went through a process. And again, I'm just just reflecting on my own personal mysticism, even though I didn't call it that. The idea that there was a phase where you actually, quote unquote, sought for the baptism of the Holy Ghost. And in that, many times in what they called Terry service, where you would go to the altar, and many times you would have people telling you, get out of self, get out of self, get out of self. It's that place of coming out of yourself and just being in the presence of God, and then having that union culminated in speaking in tongues or glossolalia. All of those are forms of mysticism, because it's something that actually transcends your human self, and it comes into oneness with God in some way. And then there are those that follow the earth tradition, those that follow the cosmos tradition. There are elements and aspects that, just like my faith tradition in Pentecostalism had what I described as the laying on of hands and praying for the sick and healing and divine whatever unctions and powers that we had manifest, as well as speaking in tongues. All of those are manifested in probably every faith tradition. And so it's not anything that's uncommon. We just don't think of it in the terms of mysticism. Now, with that, I want us to understand mysticism then is not a religion in and of itself. While mysticism plays an important part and often an essential role in the world's religions, mysticism itself is not considered a religion. There are Christian mystics, there are Jewish mystics, there are Muslim mystics, there are Buddhist mystics, there are Hindu mystics, there are Protestant mystics, there are Catholic mystics. I want you to understand the difference between, and again, it's not a religion that I'm talking about. It's usually within a faith tradition, an idea that, again, you can connect with the one, or you can connect with Mother Earth, or you can connect with the cosmos, and that union produces something otherworldly out of yourself. That's mysticism. Now, again, this may be due for some, because some may be saying, I've never heard, I've not operated in any of that, I don't believe in any of that. And I'm going to refer you back to those initial questions that we started with. What were your family's belief systems? Where did you come from on the spectrum? And begin to say, okay, how does this line up or not align with your own personal beliefs? Is it because you personally do not believe it, or is this some residue that may be hanging on? And again, you don't have to go this route. I'm just sharing what I believe. When you start talking about the power of boss energy, I believe that spirituality and mysticism will bring you into another level of living. Now, spirituality or mysticism, spiritual phenomena are not then considered to be self-existing, but instead attest to a subordinate role by a creator who transcends them. So there's a distinction then that's made between spiritual and the divine, and mystics content themselves with inferring the divine from experiences of the spiritual. Now, that's why I said I always look for definitions that kind of break it down. This one got a little wordy, but I do want you to follow the concept. There is a fine line between spirituality and mysticism, as some say. I consider it all to be one and the same, so I don't necessarily get caught up in the semantics. But this is the difference. In spirituality, that tends to be those that believe they're having an experience by a higher power outside of themselves, whereas mysticism sees itself engaged in a part of the higher power, and it's actually operating in what they are called to be in their divinity. So it's a fine line difference. So for some of you, just like there's a scripture in the Christian tradition of the Bible that says Jesus thought it not robbery to consider himself equal with God. And at the end of the day, what that's saying, Jesus didn't think there was anything taking away from God in identifying as God. So this is a hotly debated and contested topic within Christianity itself, because some people see the idea of saying, oh my God, you're not equal with God. And to say so is just, that's heresy. Now, if we talk about Jesus manifesting as the first fruit of many brethren, and thereby including sisters as well. If we consider Jesus to be the first fruit of many brethren and him coming to model and show to us who we are, it's amusing to me that within the Christian faith that argument exists, because he was basically showing humanity, mankind, Hadam, and we often say Adam, but Hadam is humanity and mankind as translated from the Chaldean. If we understand that if that's what he was doing to show us who we really are, I would argue that that scripture basically is identifying. He's trying to identify and help us to self-identify with the deity and with the Godhead instead of seeing ourselves less than. But that's a whole nother argument, and I'm not trying to have that on today. So on the other side of that, there are those faith traditions that by inference believe that the divinity that they are allows them to have their spiritual journey. So from whichever side of the spectrum you come from, I'm not here to argue and debate. I'm just understanding there is a need to understand the traditional concept and teaching of the difference between spirituality and mysticism. And again, I'm gonna say, as I said, to me, it's all one and the same. So, every man, again, as I say all the time, let every man be persuaded in his own mind. But with that, as we get ready to, I think we're coming to a conclusion for the day where we can actually talk back to the text and reclaim the text. I want to share with you this Hindu legend of human divinity, because I find it very powerful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I encountered it from one of my dear friends as I was in the Interfaith Council in Kansas City, Missouri, as one of the chairpersons and representatives. I enjoyed having that communion with all the different faith traditions that were represented in Kansas City and the metropolitan area, because I loved hearing different ideas outside of my own. I was the Christian Protestant faith group leader for that chairman for that particular entity. But this is what I loved about it. The ability to hear everybody and to hear all different faith traditions and actually come around the table and have a conversation about what others believed outside of myself, I thought was powerful. And again, this is not only for those that have faith traditions, but if you choose not to have a faith tradition, that's okay with us here as well. We're trying to get you tapped into boss energy, even though I believe that fully, whether you again, the one being God, the one being Mother Earth, or the one being the cosmos at large, I believe that you have a spiritual power and a spiritual energy regardless. Now, I want to share this, and I thought this was good enough to put in, and we're going to get ready to wrap up the class. The Hindu legend of human divinity. The Hindu legend of human divinity. And like I said, when my friend shared this with me, I just absolutely loved it. There's a Hindu legend about a time when all humans were gods, but they abused their divinity. Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from them and hide it where they would never find it again. Brahma called a council of the gods to help him decide where to hide the divinity. Let's bury it deep in the earth. But Brahma said, no, that will not do. One day they will dig deep down into the earth and find it. Then the gods said, let's sink it in the deepest ocean. Again, Brahma replied, no, not there, for they will learn to dive into the deepest waters and search the ocean bed and find it. Then they said, let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and hide it there. But again, Brahma said, no, for eventually humans will climb every high mountain on earth. Someday they will find it. The gods gave up and said, we do not know where to hide it, for it seems there is no place on the earth or in the sea that humans will not eventually reach. Brahma thought for a long time and said, here is what we will do with humanity's divinity. We will hide it deep down inside humans themselves. The humans will search the whole world, but they won't look for it inside their true selves. Ever since then, the legend concludes, humans have been going to and fro throughout the earth, climbing, digging, diving, exploring, and searching for something that is already within themselves. I love that. I absolutely love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. When my friend shared that with me, and I talk about Baswati all the time, but I'm telling you, I love Baswati. She is my dear, dear friend. This wisdom, and I'm gonna let that, I hope that'll just marinate on that. Just marinate on that. And for some of you, this may be a real hard place where you're struggling and fighting. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just exposing you to new thoughts and new ideas. And as a spiritual thought leader, I want to encourage you to have a real journey within yourself as to how you interact with this story, or no, if it doesn't resonate with you at all. As I tell people all the time, my dad used to say, approach life like eating fish. Eat the meat and throw away the bones. For some of you, this may be bones that you need to cast aside. And this particular area of what I'm addressing in boss energy may not be your cup of tea in any way, shape, or form. But I do want to engage you in frequency. What frequency are you on? Are you vibrating at a lower frequency? Are you vibrating at a very high frequency? Because the idea here is that there is God in you. God is inside. And while we spend so much time seeking and searching, and I like that, I like that idea. Ever since then, the legend concludes, humans have been going to and fro throughout the earth, climbing, digging, diving, exploring, and searching for something that is already within themselves. That part right there, and that frequency right there, is where I'm saying, let's tune that frequency into another level for those that can. And again, somebody is going to sit through this class today and say, this was wasted on me because this did not speak to me in any way, shape, or form. I respect that. I respect that to the fullest. Come back to the next sessions. Hopefully you'll start hearing other things that resonate with you. But for me, this right here in today's class session, this is the climax. Ever since then, and this is where all of our faith traditions, this is where all our religions, this is where all of this, to me, culminates in the truth of this statement right here. Ever since then, humans have been going to and fro throughout the earth, climbing, digging, diving, exploring, and searching for something that's already within themselves. That I'm calling boss energy. And at the end of the day, I believe it's in everybody. I don't believe that there's an exclusive few. As I asked at the very onset, do you believe that only certain people can be mystics? Do you believe that only certain people can get that connection with the one and begin to have and operate in a level and a frequency that is at a high level of frequency that acknowledges and honors the boss energy or the God energy or the cosmos energy or the Mother Earth energy that flows, surges, and operates inside of you? I just want you to ask yourself, what frequency are you tuned into? And with that, that's pretty much where I want us to, again, let's identify, did anything in that story resonate with you? Did anything, as I like to say, there was a person at our church, and she was known whenever she had a moment that she really connected with something, she would say, ding, 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 ding. Did you have a ding, 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 ding moment anywhere in this conversation? Is there anything in your boss energy that connected with the concept of mysticism and or spirituality, whichever way you want to see it and interact with it? Do you have that understanding or sense of feeling that there is that ability within yourself to tap into that boss energy and be able to really begin to live, abide, and reside there with the idea of being connected to your spirituality or your mystic side at all times? such that, and I think we see it manifest. We call it a lot of different things: intuition, a woman's intuition, and men have intuition too. Sometimes I think there's something about mothers, and fathers may have it too, but I see it especially manifest with mothers who will pick up energies of their children from time to time. You just have a knowing that is so supernatural. It's about being tuned into a frequency that is beyond your human ability as just a mere person, for those that want to consider that. I'm going to say again, you are stardust wrapped in human flesh. That's how powerful you are. And I'm encouraging us, and particularly some of you mothers or some of you parents, fathers that are in here, you may actually identify with that frequency connection that you have to your children. Some of you have it with your significant other or your mates. Some of you have it with your friends. I know that I have it with my friends, and it's like I can just sense that extra sensory perception. I can just sense that extended sensory perception. I'm not even going to call it extra. It's extended. When you can extend into the boss energy realm, when you can extend into the higher frequency, when you can extend into that mystical or that spiritual side of yourselves, where you are connected with the one, and the one also includes everybody else in the universe that you become one with, or the individuals that you choose to become one with, and move into that spirituality. That's today what I wanted to address. That's what I'm going to encourage you. Anchor the core. Anchor yourself so that you can begin to move and operate. And I'll say, for some of you, I think you already experience it. I think you've already had some extended sensory perception type experiences in your life. And some of us don't know what to process, how to process. What do I do with that? I just don't even know how to explain it. Some people are very reluctant to share your extended sensory perception giftings that you have, because you don't want folks to look at you crazy. You don't want folks to think that you're crazy, and so out of that experience, you just squash that. Some of you, maybe like myself, had extended sensory perception that I was very, very, very in touch with as a child. And there's my alarm. Very in touch with as a child. But as I got older and not understanding extended sensory perception, started squashing that, pushing it down, and moving away from it. I believe that it's not just in some, it's in everybody. But because we do not really address it, teach it, talk about it, understand it, and again, out of fear of being looked at as some kind of kook or some kind of freak or some kind of nutcase, crazy person, we won't share and talk about the extended sensory perception that we walk in. But I believe that if we walked in it more regularly, if we turn that frequency up and we walked in it more frequently, I believe we would start moving and operating and coming to a whole nother level of boss energy. And so that's where I'm going to start. Anchoring your core, part 2. Anchoring the core, level 2. I don't want to say part 2, but level 2 in the intermediary. I want us to start, for those that can embrace it and those that can't, like I said, just go ahead and keep coming back to the course and let this one roll like water off a duck's back for you. But for those that can embrace the idea of what I'm sharing here and anchoring the core, I'm trying to encourage you to anchor yourself to the core of your own mystic self.